actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Hey, everybody, it is Wednesday, January the 21st. I'm Emerson Collins.
And I'm Del Shores.
And you're listening to the Del and Emerson Show.
Straight talk.
Real gay. I feel like it's really important to tell everyone that right before we went on the air, when they play that wonderful commercial that says we're going to educate, inspire, and some other crap that we're not actually going to do on this show, Del Shores tried to blow this put this entire microphone in his mouth.
I just wanted to see if I could.
Like a challenge.
Look, I can. If you're watching, I could almost get that one.
Is that on your resume under special skills?
Yeah, it is.
That's good.
Actually.
I mean, I feel like it should be.
I'm in a weird, crazy mood today, so this should be a fun show.
I know, I am
hope.
too. We were just talking. My computer is in the shop. We're getting repaired, so I don't have it to play with, so I have to pay attention to everything he says today, so we'll see what happens.
Yes,
How
absolutely.
are ya?
I'm good. I'm well. I used to.
No,
I'm good. I'm well.
Good is fine.
Okay,
People
I just wanted to cover both. I wanted to cover the South and all the rest of the country.
Be like, you know what somebody meant. Let's move on.
Yes.
So much happened this week.
Oh, it's a crazy week. I mean, we have no guests and we have a very, very full show. Before we start, though, can I say one thing?
I guess.
Because I just had a Red Bull. We got our ratings in, and we actually did really well for December. We slipped a little bit, but not that much. So we had 82,000 people listening to our show, and we need sponsors, guys. We need sponsors, and we would love you to contact us because we are cheap. And we just want to stay on the air, and we thank you for listening, all 82,000, and we appreciate you. But if there's anybody that needs, 82,000 people to, sell your shit, contact us, right?
Yes, absolutely. You can email us for an information packet because we have a really fancy one that we made at delandemerson@gmail.com. And also, if you're new to the show, welcome. We've had some new people the last couple of weeks. If you want to listen to any of our old shows, they are archived on the UBN Radio website. You can also set up automatic free downloads from iTunes. Go to podcast and search the Del and Emerson Show.
We're free. We're cheap. We're free.
That's right. We just want you to listen to it. And if you listen to it and love the show, share it with your friends. Bring some more people. Tell them that we're at least amusing.
Amusing, foul, controversial, and sometimes funny.
Yes. And so with that, we will launch into the show.
So what do we have? You have
we will start off
huge equality
A lot of
update.
people last year expressed that their favorite part of the show is the equality update. And of course, unless you live under a rock, it was a huge week this week as the Supreme Court announced that they will be taking up 4 cases related to same-sex marriage.
And hit the applause button right now because this is so important. And it was such a great week for us. We've been waiting for this, and you predicted this, Emerson.
Well, and they did exactly what many prognosticators and me, because I read other smart people like Chris Geidner at BuzzFeed, who does great coverage of the Supreme Court. They took up the 4 cases from the 6th Circuit. So it's the Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee, and Michigan cases. And for those of you who may not understand the specifics, the Supreme Court is going to answer 2 questions. The first is, does the 14th Amendment require a state to license a marriage between 2 people of the same sex? So basic same-sex marriage recognition equality. And the second is, does the 14th Amendment require the state to recognize a marriage between 2 people of the same sex when their marriage was lawfully licensed and performed out of state? So it's recognition of other marriages. When they pick up the case in April, the attorneys for all 4 of the cases will decide amongst each other how to split up the time. There will be 90 minutes of arguments presented on the marriage question and 60 minutes of arguments presented on the marriage recognition question. So we have lots of time to discuss it, but that will happen in April, leading to a decision in June.
And so I've asked you several questions. I'm going to ask them again because to educate us all. If it just, for some crazy reason, did not go our way, if it does go our way, we get all 50 states, right?
Yes.
It's over. We're done.
It will be done.
Equality is everywhere in this country. But if it doesn't go our way, it does not negate all of the states.
Yes, it could.
It could.
Yes, because what it would do, and this is the reason that so many people think that the fact that they took up all 4 cases means that they are now prepared to make it the law of the land, because what they have accomplished by refusing to hear or hold stays or overturn any of the cases that came in the fall is that made marriage legal in all of those states. If they were considering ruling against it, having taken one of those cases or upheld the stays would make it possible for them to be possibly considering not making it the law of the land. Because what would happen is every one of those cases that was either denied hearing by the Supreme Court or that was stayed, or the Supreme Court's decision in the Windsor case was used to substantiate their claims could all be reopened and all be relitigated, and that would put into question marriages that have been enacted in states while it is currently legal or in states
Right.
where stays were overturned. So it would create a a legal mess across the entire country, and that's why most legal scholars believe that this means they're prepared to make it the law of the land, because
They
it would.
chose this because.
And that
are-
they picked all 4 cases. They're addressing both pieces of the question and all aspects of it that would then apply to all of the states. So, and related to it, the North Dakota, Georgia, and Missouri cases have basically just said we're going to wait for the Supreme Court decision. It's possible that the Fifth Circuit, the Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi cases, that they will wait and see what happens as well, rather than rule in the meantime, because they would not likely be added to the case. And even Attorney General Eric Holder said that Obama's administration is going to weigh in support of this as well.
So it's all looking good.
Yes.
Awesome. Except that we've got some people that are just kicking and screaming.
Well, of course.
The American Family Association is mad, correct?
Yes. I love this. The American Family Association, those crazy crackpots, bless their heart, the AFA, the National Organization of Marriage, the Family Research Council, they are all scrambling and struggling and begging for money like it's going to help, because it's not. And the American Family Association has put out a statement saying that Justices Elena Kagan and Ruth Bader Ginsburg should recuse themselves from being involved in the same-sex marriage decisions because they have both conducted same-sex marriage ceremonies, and basically saying that they wouldn't be able to be impartial.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's
good
probably
luck
not
with
gonna
that.
happen.
You know what's? Someone asked me the other day, why do they keep going? Why do they? I go, because of money. They're all going to lose their jobs. I
Yeah.
mean, who else are they? What are they going to hate on after us?
Well, it's a very interesting thing, actually. We didn't talk about this, but after, if in June this goes the way it seems to be going, a bunch of organizations in our country that are activist organizations are going to have to reevaluate their plans. The crazy conservatives aren't going to have anything to do. I mean, they could just continue to beat against it on a morality sake in order to raise their paychecks. But it also is a big impact on many of the LGBT organizations that have had a primary focus of marriage equality, that after that, their fundraising efforts and their issue-oriented will need to be reevaluated of where they want to put the money that donors continue to give to them. So it will also be a really exciting time within our community to be able to look to new issues that are equally and more important, things like transgender issues and
Right.
rights and things that we also need to be focusing on. So it'll be interesting to watch what a lot of these organizations
I'm fine
do.
with it, and I'm fine with stopping this fight. I mean, it's a lot. Just on my Facebook, just quoting the scriptures, I can just stop. Go, hey, we won. It's over.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel it will be. So yay.
So that was super exciting. And continuing our politics, because it's related to the equality update, last night was the State of the Union.
What were your favorite things about it? I
Well,
watched every moment.
My really, honestly, it was hugely exciting to hear the President of the United States say the word bisexual, lesbian, and transgender for the first time. He's mentioned the LGBT community before, and he's talked about the gay community before, and words have power, and hearing that acknowledged at that level, and really contributing to the continued visibility of specifically of parts of our community that often aren't in focus. White gay men tend to be the face of a lot of our
Right.
community, and remembering the importance of, in fact, I went so far as to say, that he said gay marriage, and I was really surprised that his speechwriters didn't put it in the way we all talk about it now as marriage equality or same-sex marriage, because there are bisexual people who could enter into a same-sex marriage who aren't gay. So I found that a sort of interesting. Somebody was like, just be glad he said it. And I was like, yes, but let's remember that bisexual people are a big part of our community, and recognizing them is important. And then
But it was huge. I mean, it was the first time ever that this was addressed in a State of the Union. I love, he says, Obama praised same-sex marriage as a story of freedom across our country and a civil right. And he declared that Americans condemn the persecution of women or religious minorities or people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender. And you were saying yesterday when we were talking, you said, I hope he says the word transgender. And
Yeah.
he did. And there was like, in my, at least the 3 people that were watching with me, there was a lot of applause. We were so excited about that. And, but can we please talk about John Boehner just a little bit? Can we just
a little bit. We
please?
could do a whole show about.
I mean,
that
put the
poor
tweet up.
Oompa Loompa.
I love the tweet where the this writer put up where her mother was watching with a towel over John Boehner. That's how she watched it. It went viral, that tweet. But what is wrong? What is wrong with him that he can't see himself and go, hey, you're not looking so good?
Hey, lots of us have body dysmorphia issues where we look in the mirror and we don't see the same reality that other people see. He just prefers a darker skin tone.
I wasn't talking about just the skin tone, that orange color.
I believe the technical term is, I believe that on a paint swatch it's called Oompa Loompa. That's what you point to and say. You know, there's like tangerine, mandarin, Oompa Loompa, burnt orange,
So I love the way you were trying to be nice and then you just slammed him with that.
Well,
just slammed him.
I figure, for one, we spend so much time talking about female appearance in red carpet fashion and whatnot that it's at least fair to also turn the cheek and do it to men who look ridiculous.
Had a bold tie choice.
He
Very
did.
bold.
Oh, you know that Fox News, I just kept thinking all those anchors at Fox News were so upset he was wearing a purple tie, like he was interested in some sort of compromise. We don't do that here.
You know, because purple, that's a little bit of a gay color. A little bit. You know, the bullying and anti-bullying, yes, that's their color.
Yes, but anti-bullying is like bullying in general.
I know, but the gays brought it to the forefront. Come on with the purple.
I don't think colors are gay.
Okay.
But red and blue makes purple, right?
Yes.
That's right. Red and blue makes purple.
Yes, and Joe Biden had a much stronger version of that. He had red and blue stripes, like, we're here beside each other, but we ain't mixing.
He was best dressed, in my opinion.
Well, it is not a high bar. My best dressed was that woman in the lime green ensemble that was standing in the receiving line that every time they cut to, it was like a sea of Navy Brooks Brothers seats. And this woman with that giant pop of color, I was like, I don't know who she is, but I love her.
And I loved Michelle's.
Her Alicia Florrick ensemble,
yeah.
her tribute to the good wife.
Well, yes, it was,
I was
Michael
like,
Kors,
I
I believe she was wearing. Oh, this is how gay our show is. We have dropped the politics and are just talking about the fashion. That was at the State of the Union. But I put on my Facebook who wore it best, and some women said that was anti-female, and I'm sorry. We can just have some fun sometimes. She looked great, and I think being compared to Juliana Margulies, who's a brilliant actress on a phenomenal show, and gorgeous.
Yes, and so that's not a bad comparison of two
No.
very fantastic women. But also, obviously, we have to talk about the mic drop moment where the stupid Republicans thought they were getting a jab at him when he said, I'm done running for election, and they applauded, and he said, because I won twice. And I was like,
I know, because I won twice.
Everything in me wanted him to like grab that microphone and drop it to the ground and walk off. Be like, peace, I'm out.
I'm out of here.
Thank you and good night.
I loved it when he said, and if a bill basically that I disagree with comes to my desk, I will veto it. And I said, subtext, motherfuckers. I mean, he was feeling a little proud.
Well,
he was full of himself a little bit.
On the actual substance of the speech, it was interesting because the first half of the speech was sort of very combative of, realistically, like, don't send me stuff I'm not going to sign. I won't sign it. And then the whole second half of the speech was like, but we should work together. So It was interesting on the political aspect of what he was really saying.
It was a little bit Gemini.
It was a little bit like, this is the fourth quarter of my presidency, and like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I mean, I feel like next year he's going to walk in and be like, hey, I'm out. I hate you. I hate you people.
Well, I have to say, I do. We can point to mistakes. We can point to whatever, but we can always point to this man as the person who said gay first, who gave us rights, who absolutely endorsed our community, and I have to thank him for that.
We haven't talked about it, but what's going to be really interesting to see if marriage equality occurs in the summer, if a whole bunch of wealthy gay men specifically suddenly feel like it's okay to be Republicans again. Be an interesting journey.
There are a lot of them who already are feeling it's okay to be Republicans.
Well, it's not.
They're called log cabin Republicans.
There's like 7 of them left. Did you watch? I sent you the video. Did you watch it? Like, because my actual favorite part of the entire evening was not in
Ted Cruz
the State of the Union. It was Ted
I did watch
Cruz's
it.
do-over video. If you missed this, you need to go find it on the internet. It's only great because he's such a pompous asshole. He was doing his Tea Party response in the dark with terrible lighting, which, by the way, the Republican response also had terrible lighting. It's like they hate Hollywood so much they're not even willing to hire a good lighting designer to light their speeches. But he went to deliver his Tea Party response to somebody's camera, got about a minute into it, and like didn't like the way it was going and said, I want to do that over. Well, whoever from his staff was recording the video uploaded the whole video without editing off the first minute. So you see his like, I need a mulligan moment
I think you
in the video.
I think you met a former staff member.
Oh, yeah. I know. I feel bad for whoever got fired, but I'm real glad we got that moment because if he announces that he's running.
Just, there's just nothing likable about him. I mean, there's some, like, look at John McCain last night. They cut to him and he was applauding, and it looked like he was there for the celebration of what it was. But what is it about him that Boehner's sitting there with his arms crossed and blowing his nose?
I think he just needed to poop.
We need to pass that peach pit. There was something stuck.
Too much fiber. Need a little prune juice.
Yeah, I don't know that this helps them. I really don't. So.
Well, I'm just glad that it made him look like a fool. I don't usually wish that in people because realistically, I would say like everybody does that. Everybody starts over. But since he is such a pompous ass,
he
I just love
doesn't
that it
look
happened to him.
happy. He just doesn't. He needs. I don't know what he needs.
Life's hard if you spend all that time being so angry.
I don't think he needs. Is he the one? He's not the one. It was Dole that did the Viagra commercials, right?
Yeah, it was a long time before.
Maybe he needs some.
Oh,
Maybe
well,
Dole needs to hand him some samples.
Oh.
All right. Well, let's go from the State of the Union to the Oscars.
Yes. First up and flashing through the gay news, the Oscar nominations happened this week, and there were some really exciting aspects.
I want to ask you something. When you were a kid, were the Oscars big in your house? I mean, because my mom and I, it bonded us. We loved the Oscars.
No, not till I got older, because we didn't watch those kind of movies, so there wasn't any. Like, I didn't watch anything that wasn't Disney made till I was like 13. So
yeah, I at least had my mom. The drama teacher. She was. I mean, we did have that one horrible incident where she took me to Laredo to see Cabaret because it looked like a real good musical, and by about 10 minutes in, she was yanking me out of the second seat and said, "We are going. This is trash."
Might have been a little much for a child.
I defied her.
I know.
I watched it. But, okay, what were your favorites? And I've seen almost everything.
I haven't. I still haven't seen Whiplash or Selma or The Theory of Everything, so I don't have a real... Well, I'll do my real Oscar commentary when we get closer to the broadcast. But I did think, in the announcements, one, the funniest moment of the Oscars has already happened. As they were announcing the category of cinematographer, the announcer proceeded to announce that nominated for Mr. Turner was a man by the name of Dick Poop.
And his real name?
Is Dick Pope. But for one thing, I hope he wins. Like, I hope everybody in the entire Academy learned his name because of this, and everybody votes, and he wins, and he gets up to give a speech and talk about it because, like, that's rough.
That's not as bad as John Travolta.
It's like the nightmare. It's like she literally turned his name into, like, the nightmare of gay sex.
Dick
Dick Poop.
Oh, my.
And specific for the LGBT community, The Imitation Game, the story of Alan Turing, received 8 nominations, including Benedict Cumberbatch's incredible performance. So that was huge for our community.
Okay, right now, because I know you haven't seen. Have you seen all of the Best Actor nominees?
No.
You have not.
No.
Oh, because you haven't seen Foxcatcher yet, right?
Or The Theory of Everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you've got a few left. Okay, the 2 that you have seen, which I think are the front runners, who would you vote for if you had to vote?
No, I mean we can do that once we've watched all the movies, like closer to the Oscar broadcasts.
No, I just meant Keaton and.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion yet.
Of those 2, you don't have an opinion.
No.
You don't know who you think was better.
I'm not going to answer this question right now, so I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a hard one. I think that's a very, very difficult category because I've seen every single one of their performances now, and I loved every one of them.
To me, that's what it comes down to. Like, I'm glad I don't have to vote, that I'm not successful enough to be invited to be a part of the Academy, because at this level, it should be that it is the best among equals,
Right.
Because performances at that level, they come down to, it's the difference in what the role asked for and what the nature of the film and the nature of the character. It's not the quality of the acting involved. So.
And also, many, many times, I mean, let's look at Michael Keaton, who has gone away for a long time and it came back with this powerful, powerful performance. Sometimes that weighs in there as well.
Yeah.
Age and
for
legacy
people in voting. But for me, from what I have seen, I didn't like Wild, the movie, but I liked both of their performances. But other than that, I don't have any issues with the people that were recognized. And I haven't seen Selma, so I don't have a thought.
Yeah, I did. I saw it on Martin Luther King Day. I loved it. I wasn't prepared to love it as much as I did. I think it's just a tough year. And there was some cry of racism that it got Best Picture nomination, I believe a Best Song nomination for John Legend. But it did, in my opinion, it deserved more. I thought her direction.
Who would
was
you replace?
In the best actor category?
In whichever ones you think
In
they
the
should've-
best actor category, I would put David Oyelowo. How do you say his
Oyelowo?
name? Oyelowo over let's see, Steve Carell.
Okay.
I would replace Steve. I liked Steve Carell. To me, it was more of a supporting actor nomination. I felt like he was in the wrong category because I thought that Channing Tatum was brilliant in that movie. Another great performance that was overlooked. But in the direction, I'm not sure. It was a lot, but I really thought her direction was powerful.
But would you replace somebody on that list with her?
Who are all on the list on that? We've got directing. We've got Alejandro Gonzalez Irantu, Birdman, Richard Linklater, Boyhood, Foxcatcher. I would replace Foxcatcher. I wasn't as crazy about Foxcatcher as a lot of people.
Gotcha.
I mean, it had elements of great, but I didn't love it like I loved a lot of the other movies.
I do sort of agree in the discussion, without having seen the movie, of that placing all of the blame in the hand of the Oscars is simplistic, because really the root of the issue is how the large corporations treat what projects they make in the first place and who they staff them with. You know, the opportunities for people of color and women and queer artists to be both the directors and the creators of project and the performers in the projects. If there were a larger variety of them in the quote-unquote prestige aspect of Oscar-geared films, that would make it easier for more people to be in. You know, it's like Ava shouldn't be the only African-American director in the discussion anyway.
Well, I believe she's the only female African-American woman in the history of the Oscars that was in a movie that's been nominated for Best Picture. But I really believe that the problem, I mean, we talked about this. There were two problems with that movie. One was the LBJ controversy. It was huge, and people felt like that they historically didn't paint him correctly. I mean, he did say the N-word in the movie. That has not been proven, and so she's defending that. But what you gave me your theory on that. What do you feel?
Well, I mean, I also think that there is a reality aspect of that, because the other guilds did not receive screeners. They didn't contribute to the buzz level. Yeah. Now, all of the Academy did, so they all did have the opportunity to see it. But it's the other guilds that would have contributed to higher recognition and earlier awards that can build some of the momentum. So that is a factor as well. But the root issue, we do have an issue of how we treat minority representation in the film industry, but it starts all the way at the beginning of projects, way before it gets to the recognition of the Oscars.
And women. I mean, the history of women. I mean, there are a few that were overlooked that probably shouldn't have been. So anyway, they're moving on to another movie that I did not see, so take it away on the Whitney movie.
So the Whitney movie aired this weekend, and I'll talk about it quickly because I was the only one that watched it, but I feel about the way Whitney Houston, the way men of in our community feel about Judy Garland or Barbra Streisand or Madonna. Whitney is that person for me. Well, Whitney and Britney, but Britney, it's not about talent. It's just like about age. And it was interesting because I watched the whole movie thinking I would have been more okay with it if they had titled the movie Bobby Brown the Martyr, directed by Angela Hatchett. Because I don't know what Angela Bassett's problem is with Whitney Houston, but it was very clear from this movie that she has one. I don't know what happened while they were shooting to Waiting to Exhale. Because, it was literally a tribute to Bobby Brown. There was an early scene where, first of all, we see Bobby come to a party at Whitney's house for her birthday party, 26th birthday, and she's walking towards the office to, have a little moment with him. She grabs a bag of presumably cocaine and does a little bit, and she offers it to Bobby, and he says, "No, thank you. I know what that does to people." Now we weren't there, but then the next time we see, it's Whitney getting out to do the drugs as well. And then eventually we finally see Bobby have a little bit of a problem with alcohol and maybe a little marijuana. So the theme of this movie was oh no, Whitney was already doing drugs, and Bobby kind of tried to stop it, and it was like Bobby Brown was the one holding it back. Now we weren't there, and I'm sure it was mutual. They did do a good job of getting I think the root issue of this relationship was that Whitney Houston loved him so much that through the good things, the bad things, the terrible moments, whatever, she wanted him, she wanted to be with him, and that was what led to a lot of the destructive behavior. But excuse me, it definitely seemed like it was basically done with Bobby Brown and his publicity team.
So was he involved? I mean, do we know?
Well, he did an hour-long special afterwards that I did not watch about like particular aspects of Whitney Houston. So, and her family and their estate didn't approve it. They wouldn't give the tracks to the songs. The two great things about the movie were Deborah Cox's re-recordings of Whitney Houston songs were amazing. I wish she would do The Bodyguard on Broadway. She's phenomenal. I love her voice. The duet that she and Whitney Houston have called Same Script, Different Cast. If you don't know it, go to iTunes, download it. Let's do it right now. It's exquisite.
Now,
It was
she
amazing.
She did not sing with herself though in in the movie, that song. Right?
No, they didn't use it in the movie.
Oh, okay.
And then the girl Yaya from America's Next Top Model who played Whitney, she did good with Whitney's energy, and her emotional commitment was significantly better than many people that have been in any of Lifetime's biopics in the last several years. She threw herself into this. She didn't have that articulation thing that characterized Whitney Houston's real life speech. In the speaking, but when she lip synced, funny enough, to Deborah Cox's vocals, she had clearly studied those performance mannerisms, the little like wrinkle in Whitney's nose, the sort of
sweating. Did she sweat?
Yes, they brought out the white towel twice at the end of the movie, like at the end of her shows. But the performance mannerisms were amazing. Down the chin, she like it was really she really worked hard. So
Well,
I appreciated both of them. But I want somebody to do the 2-hour special of Angela Bassett.
Well,
and
here's
Whitney
what I don't
Houston's story.
understand about Angela Bassett. I mean, has she ever even directed?
No, this was
before?
her directorial debut.
It's odd that she was the choice just because she got a nomination for playing Tina Turner in another.
Well,
I mean, really? It doesn't seem to qualify you.
I think, and what happened on Twitter, it quelled some of the criticism of the movie because you had to criticize Angela Bassett in order to say there were things wrong with the movie. And so a whole lot of people didn't. They were like, yay, Angela Bassett, good for you. My biggest problem was really that they called the movie Whitney and talked about, and it was basically about 5 to 8 years of the Whitney and Bobby Brown story.
Right.
It's kind of like it was part 2 of a 3-part trilogy. Because when somebody finally goes to make the Whitney Houston biopic, that movie had better open with a 15-year-old girl standing in front of a church choir singing Jesus Loves Me. And if you don't start the story from there with that song that Whitney talked about, Love So Much, sang on the preacher, sang so often, then you're not telling the right story.
And that's interesting because what's love got to do with it? It started with that little girl singing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it really did. It was a journey. It was a complete life journey.
And apparently that was always the plan for this, but the billboards just said Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
Like, call it Whitney and Bobby. Tell us that that's the story you're telling.
Well, that was that reality show.
Well, that being Bobby Brown, that reality show that like was going to tank, and so they made her start filming with them because they needed money. All right, flashing on. That was a lot of that.
Yeah, well, it was, but interesting, and I loved her too. I do. I still love her. I still listen to her all the
Yes.
time. I sometimes go on YouTube and just get lost in Whitney.
For Scott Nevins was flying back in from New York, and we were waiting on him to watch it that night. That's how good a friend I am, that I waited like 4 hours to watch this movie about this woman that I love so much. So when we pulled up to the airport to pick him up, I had queued up the iTunes in the car on my phone to the break in I Will Always Love You. So we rolled down the windows and turned the volume all the way up. So right as we pulled up to the airport, it went
Did y'all get
I'm
immediately
that gay?
You are. That is a good gay friend.
I know.
That's crazy.
And
he's
it's lovely.
And Scott's going to be on the Ann Walker show today.
This afternoon at 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. So, all right. Well, on to Billy Crystal. I love Billy Crystal and have loved him for years. I love that he was Jody Dallas on Soap, one of the first openly gay characters on TV that was a real person. It wasn't just a stereotype. It started off a little bit stereotypical, which he admits, and then they scratched deeper, and he became a real person on television, a gay person, when there were none. They really weren't. And he's gotten in a little heat this week because he's
actually gotten in a lot
of heat. Yeah. All right. So he told the Television Critics Association that gay scenes aren't to his taste. His quote was, "Sometimes I think, that's too much for me. Sometimes it's just pushing a little too far for my taste, and I'm not going to reveal to you which ones they are. I hope people don't abuse it and shove it in our face to the point where it feels like an everyday kind of thing." So what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, like literally the gay blogosphere. This was at the Television Critics Association, 200 TV critics in a room together, and this quote of like "don't shove it in my face" was blasted across every gay blog, everything. And so I went in and found and read this longer quote, and I comprehend why people are a little upset, except then he went on to talk about what it was like shooting soap in front of an audience, and when he would say "I love you" to the other actor and they would titter, and how angry that made him. And there were 200 critics in the room, and nobody asked a follow-up question. We just went straight to Billy Crystal is a homophobe. And then he was asked about it again in an interview the next day. Someone finally followed up. And he said, first of all, I don't understand why there would be anything offensive that I said. When it gets too far, either visually, now that world exists because it does for the hetero world, it exists, and I don't want to see that either. But when I feel it's a cause, when I feel it's you're going to like my lifestyle, no matter what it is, I'm going to have a problem. And there were a couple of shows I couldn't watch that with somebody else. So he put up a follow-up and said basically, and for me, I read it as he's just a fuddy-duddy. He's like, graphic sex on TV is too much for me.
He's 67, right? I mean, he's
Yes.
67 years old.
But even still today, like great writers that I really love, like at the Huffington Post and Think Progress and all these things, they switched from saying it was overtly homophobic to saying it represents the ick factor mindset of like, it's fine for you to be gay, I just don't want to have to look at it. And I just don't read what he said that way. I think his issue was agenda. His point was if it's gratuitous nudity and sexuality is what he was talking about in the very first place. So his point is like too much of that, and like that's just too much. I don't want to see it. And he said, and to me, I take it as, and if it's not motivating story, if it's just simply you're going to look at this and like this, that he finds that irritating. And he said in general, but but today everyone's saying, well, he said kind of hetero stuff is that way too, but as an afterthought. And at some point, I go like, this man has always been a friend of the community and asked the follow-up question, and I just read it as like he's an old man about sex.
And he was specifically asked about gay love scenes, right? Because of his history in playing a gay.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that doesn't apply.
It's fine. I just feel like I get what they're saying, that it's like representative of that ick factor thing of like, ooh, it's kind of gross, even if it's okay, and like, but I think like going down on a woman's a little bit gross too. So, but I think people should do it if it makes them happy. So, like, I don't know.
I loved Sex in the City. I loved every frame of it, and so even
that episode where she squirted on her was a lot for me. I would say that on a panel too. And like, don't tell me that I'm like heterophobic. You know, at some point, like.
Well, here's the bigger issue for me is that I feel like that sometimes it's when we went after Target. It's sometimes they had done so much, they had given so much to the gay community. They had been on the gay-friendly list on HRC for many, many years, and then there was that one donation that was to a politician. And maybe I'm not getting this exactly right, but to a politician who had some anti-gay rhetoric or voted on or whatever. So we throw away the entire past. We just throw them away and say, and with Billy Crystal, who has stood up for us and who played gay and who was a proponent for the gay community and still is, obviously, he said he still is, then maybe we can allow him to be icked out just a little bit by a gay love scene.
Well, and I think it's fine to call out allies when they say things or do things that are inappropriate. I mean, I do it all the time, and you have to say like, whoa, that might be a little much, but like, there's just been so much. It's like, okay, say like that might be a little weird, but like, I don't want to see Billy Crystal having sex either. And
what did I say yesterday? I'm just moments away from saying something that's going to get me into a lot of trouble.
I already have. Like, if somebody goes back and reads through my Twitter from before anybody paid attention to Twitter, Lord, who cares? Anyway.
All right, from Crystal to Bieber, what do we have on the Bieber?
I just love this because he's so ridiculous. First, Justin Bieber's getting roasted by Comedy Central, which is like amazing and sad. They clearly just want young people's ratings to come in, but I can't wait because of these two stories. Hopefully that will be the entire thing. First, a prominent gay for pay porn star Johnny Rapid offered Justin Bieber a $2 million to shoot an X-rated scene with him. It'll be easy, Rapid said. I'll do most of the work. Come in for a few hours, and then you're out of here with $2 million. Hope to see you soon. Justin Bieber has not responded to the offer.
Well, I want to know, did he have, Johnny Rapid obviously doesn't have $2 million. Did he have a company behind him? Was this a legitimate offer?
I'm sure that if Justin Bieber said yes, a whole bunch of those companies could get together and pull in $2 million and be like, yes, we're doing this, because they'd sell $100 million worth of it around the world.
Well, I was more interested in him releasing the picture of his junk going commando, because there were rumors that he had been photoshopped, correct?
Yes, he did that Calvin Klein
John.
photo that everyone was all obsessed about, and then this photo came out that was supposedly the unphotoshopped version, and the bulge looked smaller, and so people were making fun of him having a small package. So he's been parading around with no underwear on, trying to show off that like I've got more than you.
It looks good.
Than it looked like.
He's all right.
Like it's hilarious. Like people
may have a cock ring
over analyzing it. I mean, maybe he fluffed it a little bit.
Who wouldn't?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Come on. Just a little fluff.
So,
don't overfluff, though.
I
don't
can't wait.
overfluff.
I'm sure that Comedy Central roast will be entirely about Justin Bieber's package. So something to look forward to for all the believers out there.
All right. And now moving on, we have trans news. This is a disturbing story to me. It comes out of Kentucky, and Kentucky State Senator C.B. Embry Jr. introduced the Kentucky Student Privacy Act, which requires that bathrooms and locker rooms must be divided according to biological sex, and schools are forbidden from accommodating transgender students by allowing them access to any facility designated for use by students of the opposite biological sex, while students of the opposite biological sex are present or could be present. And then he went on to if there was a student that turned in a trans student, then they will be awarded $2,500
From the school.
From the school. And, you know, I decided that I would just go right to my friend Calpurnia Adams and ask her what she thought. And she said, although trans students have already been allowed to use the bathrooms and locker rooms corresponding to their identity without incident in Kentucky, the Kentucky Student Privacy Act proposed by Senator C.B. Embry Jr. aims to expose already underfunded schools to financial liability by allowing students to sue for thousands of dollars if a person of the opposite biological sex is found in a school restroom. So many of our civil rights battles have happened around bathrooms, water fountains, and lunch counters, and we always end up affirming the basic human right to live alongside one another as equals. I just love her.
Yes.
I love that she weighed in for me on this, and it's just ridiculous. It's almost like just more posturing to create bullshit and waste money.
Well, but
and time.
And speaking of issues that, you know, as a community we need to be focusing on, you know, this isn't, you know, these kind of laws are still like passing in places.
They are.
You know, the Dugars won the one with theirs. So like this story sounds ludicrous, but the transgender part of our community is not nearly as legally protected. And the bathroom thing makes me insane because I can't imagine already the challenge for transgender people anyway with dealing with presenting their internal identity externally already in public and the things that go along with that and not matching identification. Just the idea of what walking up to a bathroom at all is a terrifying experience for them, like whatever
and
the decision.
To legally have to go into a men's room and you're in transition or transgender, it's just beyond me how hard that would be on. It's so frustrating that these people can't find something else to deal with. I mean, I'd love to see what Kentucky is in education. It's probably in the bottom 10.
Yeah.
They don't focus on, it's like with Mississippi, they're always yelling and screaming about this. And then why don't you focus on education?
Yeah.
You're number 50.
Yeah, and it's
know?
legislation just designed to punish schools that are being supportive of transgender students. So that's ridiculous. And commercial for them, Calpurnia Adams and Alec Mapa have a great show on Wednesdays at noon before we come in. So if you haven't checked out their show, next Wednesday at noon, it's called Nooner with Alec Mapa and Calpurnia Adams. She's brilliant. He's hysterical. I'm sure it would be a great experience. So join them too.
And I'm going to go see her this week. She has a show at Hamburger Mary's at 10 o'clock on Saturday night. So y'all come with me.
All right. Well, flashing on, continuing transgender news. A truly terrible thing happened last week. In Touch magazine put on the cover of their magazine a photo of Bruce Jenner photoshopped as a woman. Now, the gossip magazines have for quite some time been speculating about the idea that Bruce Jenner is transgender or planning to come out. In fact, In Touch in the story actually said they had a source at The Advocate that said Bruce was planning to come out in a future issue of The Advocate, but Matthew Breen, who's the editor-in-chief of The Advocate and Out, said they have no insider knowledge of The Advocate's planned coverage, and they used a photo of a British actress and Photoshop combined Bruce Jenner's face.
It was rude.
Beyond, like, it was
like
crazy
so rude.
transphobic because it contributes to that idea that transgender is something either prurient or shocking. If he is, and that's something that he chooses to announce at that point, like let him do the interviews, do all the stories. But I go back to there are a billion jokes to make about Bruce Jenner and the Kardashians and their ludicrous celebrity that aren't transphobic.
Well, he is going to address this on the season premiere, and it's going to be a storyline of some sort.
On Keeping Up with the
that
Kardashians?
He announced it today. It was in Us magazine, his interview coming up. He's not going to say anything in the Us interview, but he did say, I will be addressing the change of appearance in the next season, and it will be addressed in the first episode.
Well, but and it goes back to, like, if that is his truth and that is what he's announcing, that's fine. But it's that the magazine made it seem like it was okay to make a mockery of the idea that he would be transitioning, which is laughing at the entire community.
Right.
Like,
Because, I mean, if we scratch a little deeper, and yes, and there are the jokes, and I've probably laughed at some of them, but if we scratch a little deeper, that man is in a lot of pain if he has been going through this for all these years. So we need to back off and regroup.
Let's skip to...
We're behind. Well, in other news, horrible news, ISIS continues to just terrorize, and we saw, I don't know if many of you saw, and I looked away quickly, that 2 gay men were thrown off a building in Iraq as punishment for being gay.
And it was shared in a video apparently online, and the photos have been making the rounds of Twitter. And this gets to a really interesting thing for me. It's not about denying people's free speech or the availability of information. And I think what ISIS is doing to women and minorities and LGBT people in the areas where they are taking over is an important story to continue telling, in addition to their religious fanaticism. But there's something about that at some point, is sharing these photos actually informing, or is it just giving credence to what is something that is truly terrible? It's just, I found that, because apparently one of the photos, it's like somebody's in midair, and I just get to a point where it's like, I don't need to see that. Like, that image is burned into my brain now. And at what point
it's like
do
the
we
beheading images?
Do we tell the story without supporting the imagery and giving attention to the results? I don't know.
And as a parent, I mean, my daughters are grown now, but how do parents nowadays stop kids from seeing such violent and horrible imagery? I wonder how, are there controls that they can, are there?
I mean, I think you have to be really monitoring, how children engage with social media. I think what children have on their phone is probably a huge part of young parenting younger children today.
Yeah, it's just, but that's, again, just more reason to get them gone. We got to figure this out.
So shifting, because I always like to share something ludicrous from the internet every week in order to keep the tone of our show moving up and down so that you guys don't get bored with us. We're Enough. This is one of our We're Enough shows.
We're enough.
We're enough. There was this ridiculous, amazing thing. ShipYourEnemiesGlitter.com is a website that says, we send glitter to the people you hate. It says on the site, we fucking hate glitter. People call it the herpes of the craft world. What we hate more, though, are the soulless people who get their jollies off by sending glitter in envelopes. We've had enough, so here's the deal. There's someone in your life right now who you fucking hate, whether it be your shitty neighbor, a family member, or that bitch Amy down the road who thinks it's cool to invite you to high tea but not provide any weed. So pay us money, provide an address anywhere in the world, and we'll send them so much glitter in an envelope that they'll be finding that shit everywhere for weeks. Now, this site was put up. It's basically a trolling website. You pay them $10. They'll send somebody that annoys you an envelope full of glitter, and they will open it, and there will be glitter in their house.
Just $10?
Yes.
Oh,
well,
my
it's just
God.
I'm sure it's just like a regular size envelope. It has a note inside that basically says
They could get 20.
Somebody hates you. Well, it was shared around Facebook and everything that the site received over 1.3 million visits.
Holy shit.
Shared 300,000 times on Facebook within its first 24 hours. The guy who opened it said he had to remove the order form from the site after he hit about 2,300 orders. I love it for so many reasons. One, because that many people think, yeah, hell yes, I would send an envelope of glitter to somebody that annoys the crap out of me. I absolutely would.
So he made $23,000?
Yeah, but he also said, he's like, I'm going to be pouring glitter into envelopes for weeks. Because, like, this was just, like, a dumb whatever joke. I was like, well, I would do it. I'd order, like, 10. I could think of, like, 10 people right now I would send an envelope full of glitter to just because, like, they annoy me, and I would like to anonymously annoy them as well.
All right. Let's do it.
I love it. Well, you can't. We got to wait till he, like, sells it and, like, gets bigger production.
He better hurry because somebody's going to... They're going to capitalize on
well,
that
I'm like,
shit.
Get you an intern.
Yeah.
I mean, how many... You got to be able to do, like, 15 envelopes an hour. You just get you one of those little shakers, right? Pour it in, pre-printed envelopes. Like, we ship out DVDs, dozens at a time.
That's right.
Dude, I feel like he's whining. You spend a lot of money.
I know you skipped a story, and I just want to touch on it very quickly because I just loved that Twitter shut down Westboro Baptist and Shirley Phelps because they protested Twitter, and Twitter just basically said, fuck you, we're done, and they are no longer on Twitter. And I tweet her. I tweet that bitch, so I'm not going to be able to tweet her anymore. And we have
Dallas.
Oh, we, our home state. We both go to Dallas. I've actually done stand-up in the Dallas Cathedral of Hope, and they had protesters that just greeted them this week. at their Sunday morning service with just hateful signs.
But the best part is nobody knows why they were there.
They have no idea. But
Just 'cause.
But I did a little research, and they're called the officialstreetpreachers.com. And if you'll put up that picture of me holding the rapture sign, it is the same group. They were at LA Pride a few years ago. So they're just all over the place.
I feel like they were just on vacation in Dallas and said, well, while we're here,
let's go to the Dallas Cathedral of Hope. Anyway, I don't think anything really happened except they just disrupted.
they just stood there. No,
Yeah.
the Dallas Voice has been trying to figure out what they wanted, and nobody knows. All right, flashing on. So last week we talked about Ellen's response to that ridiculous Larry Tomczak who talked about all the terrible gay people on television. Well, Anderson Cooper has weighed in as well, and I need to preface this by saying Anderson Cooper, I love him as a news reporter. Like, I think he's smart and he's intelligent and he does a decent job of, being pretty fairly unbiased in the way that he does reporting. But occasionally on Twitter and definitely on the ridiculous, you see the there's a little bit of a bitchy queen underneath there a little bit when he comes for somebody kind of shady. When it happens on Twitter, it's my favorite thing in the world. But so he responded to Larry Tomczak's warning saying, I've never actually been to the secret meetings where the gays plot their agenda, though I imagine the catering is quite amazing. But thanks to someone named Larry Tomczak, my eyes have been opened. He went on to talk about Tomczak's suggestion that they watch wholesome programming like I Love Lucy, which Anderson admitted he was into, and Leave It to Beaver, which Anderson responded to saying, and as for the Beav, I never got into it. I don't know why. Which is amazing. And then he went on to say, talking about, suggested that Tomczak watched TLC's My Husband's Not Gay and showed a clip of one of the My Husband's Not Gay guys saying, I knew I wanted to be married to a woman. I knew I wanted to be a father and to be called daddy. And my favorite line of the night, Anderson quipped back, if you're a gay guy who wants to be called daddy, you don't necessarily have to be married to a woman. I'm just saying.
And I have to say, Emerson, you were so much more masculine in quoting that guy on that show.
Brett.
He's just with those eyebrows.
I know.
I mean, come on. Come on. As Leslie Jordan once said, he said, who do you think you're fooling?
Yes. And really quickly, this sort of relates to our equality update and how so many, even conservatives, are stepping away from people in organizations that are viciously anti-LGBT. Legatus is a Catholic anti-gay organization that has had many anti-gay speakers and standards, and a guy, Jeremy Hooper at goodisyou.org, who I love. He's a writer and writes specifically about LGBT matters related to equality and family equality, just posted a story about Legatus saying that Gary Sinise, Fox host Brett Baer, and Coors chair Pete Coors were going to be there at this organization that is very anti-LGBT stances. Because of Jeremy's one post, all three of them pulled out of it. They're three very conservative figures. Gary Sinise is a known Republican. Brett Baer works at Fox, and they immediately pulled out of this thing.
It is not cool to be anti-gay anymore.
It isn't, even for
not.
conservatives.
No.
Of course, they replaced him with Mike Huckabee, naturally, because
Of
that
course.
man,
he's just proud.
Well,
just proud to be anti-gay.
I mean, I feel like he's been on his anti-Beyonce crusade, talking about Jay-Z pimping her out.
Which is anti-gay.
Obviously it is.
It's so anti-gay.
You can't, if you are anti-Beyonce, you are obviously anti-gay.
Oh.
And so
We weren't mad, but now we're mad.
But it's really amazing that now we're reaching the point where truly, truly staunch conservatives also do not want to be associated with anti-LGBT organizations. So that's really an impressive accomplishment and demonstrates how prepared we are becoming as a country for the Supreme Court result in June.
And also in Catholic news, in Ireland, Father Martin Dolan, an Irish Catholic priest, came out in front of his congregation as gay. He said, I'm gay myself, and I support gay marriage, and you should too. And church.
And the Irish health minister also came out yesterday on the radio, and both of them talked about, it is coming up for referendum in Ireland. It's the last part of the UK where to deal with same-sex marriage, so it's going to be big on the issue this year, and that's huge when you have your health minister as well as a priest coming on board. And finally, checking in with Crazy.
Well, Patricia Arquette got an Oscar nomination, and Alexis Arquette is continuing to harp on that tired old story that she had sex with Jared Leto. Jared Leto, classily, has not said a word about it, has not addressed it. And I guess because her sister got that Oscar nomination, she had to bring it up again, and she really alluded that his penis size is huge. And then she tells Out.com, people are asking about Jared Leto's penis size. Is that what it's come to? Yes, because you started this.
Because you
bitch.
keep talking about it.
You're the one who started it. I was trying to get people to believe anything. I mentioned it in passing at the end of the interview. I was dressed as a man when it went down, or I guess when I went down. I was trying to give some hope for the gay men out there. But the idea that the dude could be bisexual, whoa, that's just too much for people to handle. You know what I say? I'm going to call you on this, Alexis. Bullshit. All you're doing is trying to get publicity. This is a ludicrous, stupid thing that you keep bringing up.
And also, don't ruin Patricia's Oscar chances. She seems to be the front runner, and you don't want to be like The Clumps was for Eddie Murphy that year that he might have won for Dreamgirls if that The Clumps movie hadn't come out right around the time the Oscar voting was happening. Alexis Arquette is Patricia Arquette's The Clumps. She needs to be quiet.
And by the way, my favorite Oscar moment maybe ever is after Eddie Murphy did not win, he stalked out.
Well, I gotta go. And
All right.
finally, what's gay in sports ball? This first thing isn't really that gay, but I love that there's this giant scandal apparently about underinflated footballs. And here's my problem. This weekend in the Patriots game, the Patriots apparently might have been using underinflated footballs. And my problem with this is these men are paid millions of dollars to play sports ball with the kind of sports balls they've been using since they were children. How are you a professional sports baller and you don't know that ball isn't inflated enough?
Does it help them win or something?
I don't know. We
don't even understand
I didn't really
the problem.
I posted it on Facebook saying that I didn't understand about the ball weighing enough, and people pointed out that air in the ball doesn't really weigh anything, and I thought, oh, that's true. I guess it's really about the pressure. But if you've been holding this football in your hand every single day for 30 years, I feel like you would know it was wrong.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
Well, I'm trying to be sports relevant. Well, now that we don't have Michael Sam to talk about, I got to have new sports ball stories.
You're just reaching for shit. I don't even know.
It was
what
on
we're
CNN
talking
today.
Okay, but I still, if I saw that on CNN, I still wouldn't know what they're talking about.
Well, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to relate to how the other half live. And
but
finally,
this is good.
Most importantly, so
Yes.
the giant Katy Perry concert that happens at the beginning of February, it has been announced that it will be starring Idina Menzel performing the national anthem, and I am excited about that to a degree that is challenging to describe. I am so excited.
I am too. I got a little bit goosey right now.
John Legend and Lenny Kravitz will be there too, but it's mostly about
who cares?
Katy Perry. I'm calling it the Katy Perry concert starring Idina Menzel. So I will be watching the commercials as well.
They were featuring.
No, to me it's starring.
Okay.
No, it's
all right,
starring.
Okay.
It's-
All right. Speaking of featuring, we once again want to go out and just say congratulations, Debbie Holiday. Our good friend is number 5 this week on Billboard. We're going to go out with her song, and we had a great time today, just me and Emerson here shooting the shit. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, all of you who tune in every week.
Thanks so much for joining us. As always, you can download any of the shows from iTunes, share them with your friends. Stick around after this is On Air with Tony Sweet, and then after that, the Ann Walker Show with my good friend Scott Nevins co-hosting today.
And you can find us anywhere you want to just by Googling either one of us.
Facebook,
Say hi.
Dylan Emerson.
Yeah, and we answer everything.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.